I'm Rebecca, and we're on Behind the Buzz. Joining us is Adam from Smart Decisions. Thank you for being with us today.
It's good to be with you.
Of course. So, Adam, I understand that you were involved in LED before. How was the transition into CBD?
You know, it's really interesting. When I got involved in the LED business around 2009, 2010, it was a business that was considered the Wild West. There were a lot of companies trying to make products, but what it all came down to was the quality of the product. We started to develop a 4-foot tube replacement for the fluorescent tube, and we're one of the first companies in the country to receive an ETL approval for the tube. I took myself out to Las Vegas and I started to visit the facilities and the hotels and the casinos. And at the time, where everybody else was going to the facility directors and telling them that they could save them money on their electricity, we looked at it as a health benefit. We did a study at a school in Las Vegas that showed students improving their test scores 15% across the board underneath LED lighting. And always have been big into the health benefits. And that was my catch into getting business going in the Las Vegas area. And then moved back to Florida in 2015, threw my back out, and I had read a little bit about CBD, improving their test score. And within the course of 2 weeks, my pain went away. And I wasn't sure if it was coincidence or if it was actually the CBD doing this for me. So 2 months later, my back went out again, and I went right back to the CBD, and sure enough, my back pain was gone again. Got in touch with a friend who's now a board member of Smart Decisions, Jonathan Morgan, who's with Happy Head Marketing. And he was talking about the fact that his company makes the packaging, the plastic parts, and the batteries for the CBD market. And he couldn't keep up with the business. The growth was just crazy, as he would say. And that's when we started to do a deep dive into what the CBD market was and what the potential was. And what we started to learn was the fact that consumers needed to be educated. They really didn't understand the CBD market. They didn't know, what type of dosage to take and what to take for different ailments that they had. And we've just started doing research from thousands of reviews on the internet, and decided to create an algorithm that would help consumers select the right CBD product for their needs. And just very exciting.
So tell us a little bit about that CBD algorithm.
The algorithm is basically a culmination of reviews that have been posted all over the internet from different CBD manufacturing sites that sell directly to the consumer, and talking all about what they've taken, how much they've taken, for what ailment, how it's helped them. And we put that into a back-end system that will allow consumers to answer very simple based questions. And by answering the questions, it'll dial in specifically to which CBD products are the best for their needs. Also, when we look at the CBD market just in general, now when you look at the sites, the different manufacturing sites, what they have is educational pieces. The problem is most consumers don't read the educational pieces. So we started doing analytics on the back end of their systems to understand how many visitors they were getting, the bounce rate, what pages they were visiting, what they were buying. And through that knowledge, what we realized is that there were too many consumers who wanted to jump into CBD, but just didn't know which CBD to buy. And that's when we started to gather the information and started to create the algorithm itself.
That makes a lot of sense. And so who's behind this algorithm?
Well, without getting into too specifics, because I'm sure we'll have an announcement in the near future with that, we have engaged with a really intelligent group of people in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Harvard and MIT graduates that are not web developers per se. They take mathematical models and they put it into software. So what we're doing is we're creating a plugin that any CBD site will be able to use directly with their own inventory. So this way, when the consumer goes onto their site, they can easily identify with which product is good and what they need to use for their needs directly from that site.
And how will you build trust with your customer base?
You know, trust is always the trickiest game to build. And what I would tell you is that, of course, through word of mouth, but I think that, you know, we're in a results-oriented business. And I think as consumers start to use the algorithm and the word of mouth starts to spread, I think it's going to be like a wildfire where just you're just going to have a lot of companies that really jump into the algorithm.
How do you expect the plugin to impact the CBD market?
I think that the plugin, having an algorithm, has been needed for the past few years, and I think that it's going to impact the market just tremendously. Number one, I think it will keep consumers on the websites, and instead of surfing away from the site, consumers will start buying the products and feeling more comfortable. I've talked to so many people who say, you know, I've been reading about CBD, I want to try CBD, but I'm not comfortable yet, I don't know what's right for me. And it's just a huge segment of the market that I think will really come aboard once they have a way of just getting a little bit of assistance in terms of what they really should be buying for themselves.
And that's very understandable. And when and where will the algorithm be accessible?
We expect to announce the algorithm first quarter of 2020. There was a CBD show in Las Vegas in February. We'd like to show a demonstration of that at the show in Las Vegas, and expect to release it end of February, beginning of March.
And why should the investment and financial community take a closer look at your company?
You know, I think that I've always believed in the old adage that numbers don't lie. And when you look at the growth potential of the CBD market, it's just like something we've never seen before. Right now, there's very few market sectors that are growing at the rate that CBD is growing. And to give you an example, Brightfield Research talked about the fact that in 2018, the CBD market was just under $1 billion. This year, they're expecting the market to be over $2.5 billion, and they expect growth by the year 2024 to around the $22 to $24 billion mark. And when you look at a compounded annual growth rate of over 100%, there's just no industry like it. And in fact, when you look at the cannabis market, which has been growing by leaps and bounds over the past few years, that is expected to have a compounded annual growth rate of 25%. So when you look at the year 2025, you'll have a market where the CBD market holds almost 50% of the total market share between cannabis and CBD. It's just incredible growth.
That's amazing. And so, Adam, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I'm Rebecca Urena, and this has been Behind the Buzz.